Well, this is a little story that's in the DAD tuning. Another story. Well, this story takes place in Sudbury, Ontario, where they have one of the most interesting, wonderful music festivals I've ever had the pleasure of attending. And it's done in a park, and the main stage for the festival has an amphitheater, big, half a bowl thing with seats coming up in it, rising. It seats, gosh, I don't know, it probably seats a good 500-600 people. And the thing that when the first year I went to this festival, I wasn't invited. We were touring out that way, so we stopped in, Joe Mock and I, we stopped in to see what was going on. And there was something that they did at this festival that totally amazed me, was that you should know that when you're in a folk festival situation, if you're the MC, the master of ceremonies, it's the toughest gig there is. People don't want to hear what you've got to say. They want to see the next act. But you got to go out and you got to kill time so they can set up for the next act. You got to make announcements that are totally boring about, got to move that parked car, because if you don't move the parked car, they're going to tow it away. It's not an enviable gig. And what they do at this festival is, when the MC is not being interesting enough, or they don't want to hear another announcement about a parked car that has to be moved, they start doing this. And when you get 800 people doing that at the same time, it's really stunning. And the MC is, trying to make this announcement, and here's 800 people going, like, it's sort of like when you're trying to tell a story and an airplane flies by, and you realize that you go ahead, you can do it too. Okay, let the airplane go by. Anyway, they do this at the Sudbury Folk Festival, and it's really cool. But I didn't really get the full appreciation of it until years later, when I was the MC at the Sudbury Music Festival, and I had to introduce Laura Smith. Oh, what a great songwriter, Laura Smith. Oh. And so I'm up there and I'm reading a few announcements and whatnot like that, and I'm about to go into the wind-up for, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you one of my favorite singers, and they tap me on the shoulder and go, she's not here yet. We need another 5 minutes. And 5 minutes in MC world is a lifetime. But I remember that thing with the peeper sound. And it came to me out of nowhere. I said, okay, folks, the first time I ever came to your festival, I noticed that when the MC was not being interesting enough, that the audience would start going, and they did it for me right there. They all started doing it. I went, that's what I want. I want you to do just that. But wait, I want to introduce it. So I'm going to go back off stage, and from backstage, I'm going to introduce the Sudbury Symphony Orchestra. And when I come out, I want that ovation of peeper sounds, and then I will act like the conductor, and you'll be silent, I hope. And when I go like this, I want all the men in the audience to go, oh, 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 oh. And when I go like this, I want all the women in the audience to go, trust me, this will be great, this will be great. And I ran off stage, and on the microphone I announced backstage, ladies and gentlemen, the Sudbury Orchestra is pleased to announce the maestro himself, Rick Scott. And I walked out on stage to a thunderous, thunderous wave of... I took a deep bow, and then I tapped my imaginary music stand. I put my arms like this, and they actually stopped doing it. They stopped the peeper sound, and I went, and the men all went, or, and then I went, and the women all went, and we did a version of the Blue Danube like you never heard it before. was brilliant. And not only that, it killed 5 minutes. And the guy tapped me and said, "She's here." And I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. May I introduce to you now Laura Smith." And Laura came on. And I got off stage and I was like, whew, I pulled that one off. But I wanted to get out into the audience because I'm a huge Laura Smith fan. She does a version of My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean that just does it for me. So I took off my microphone and I ran around the side and I went right into the corner of the audience thing and I sat there ready to watch Laura just do it, and I'm watching her singing and stuff, and I realized that while I'm watching her, somebody is standing right about here and they're staring a hole into me. And I'm not going to look at them, but somebody is standing right there and they're just staring at me. So finally I turn, and it's the cutest little girl you've ever seen with the biggest eyes, and she's looking at me like, and her mom is standing behind her, and her mom is kind of going, "What can I do?" You know, and I said, "Hello," and she went, "Hello," and I said, "Can I help you?" And she goes, "Yes, my name is Alexandra, and I've got Tourette's syndrome, and you'll never guess what my tic is." And so what I realized was that in this Blue Danube thing that I was doing, I was suddenly making her the best snorter in the whole place because she knew how to do it better than anybody. And she asked me if I would make up a song for her about Tourette's because I seemed to be qualified for the job. And I mean, I don't know, Alexandra, I don't know anything about Tourette's, so if you could write me a letter and tell me some things about Tourette's, maybe I could make up a song about it, because really all I knew about Tourette's at the time was that sometimes people swore a lot, and I didn't know if I could fit that into a song. But anyway, long story, a little bit longer here. She sent me a letter, and in the letter she talked about things about her Tourette's, which was things like, if my socks aren't right in a line, perfectly in the drawer, I have a very bad day. And little things like that. Then her mom wrote a little letter and put it in the envelope that talked about how, yes, she went through that little period of time where she said very bad words very loudly, and that was a tough one to get over with. And then there was a letter from her doctor, and her doctor said, "Oh, you've got your hands full to make up a song about this one, so maybe this will help." And he enclosed a bunch of brochures about Tourette's. And one of the things in the brochure was about a condition that I believe was called echolalia. And it was the thing about Tourette's where if they have to repeat things over and over again, it's like an echo, echolalia. So if they ask you a question, you answer it. They'll ask you the same question again. You'll answer it again. They'll ask it. That's the echo thing, is they keep repeating. And it took me years to come to an idea about this, but I finally did in a story that I made up called The Great Gazzoon. And one of the characters in The Great Gazzoon is the echo. And the echo became my representative for the Tourette's syndrome. Whew. Sometimes inspiration is a hard thing to come by, but I stuck with it. I made up the song. I made up the whole story called The Great Gazzoon with the echo in it as one of the heroes of the story. And by the time I got it finished and got to send it to this little girl, it took a while. She was now a teacher in Nova Scotia, and she was doing just fine, and she approved of what I did. And so now, from the story, The Great Gazzoon, a song. Yeah.